But kitten fishing is actually a term that's getting uh, time on social media right now, and it's the baby version of catfishing.
All right. So you got to hold on a second.
Mhm.
So kitten fishing is the baby version of catfishing. Catch me up on catfishing because I've
Catch
heard of it.
that. Very good. Very good. Yes, I will catch you up on catfishing and kitten fishing. So catfishing, you may have heard of. There was an MTV show called Catfishing. Actually, if you go on to MTV, like they are showing nothing but like catfishing.
Oh, is that right?
Then they'll show this other show, Ridiculousness. So basically, you can catch either on MTV, but Catfishing is a show uh, which is or was about catfishing. And catfishing is a term that originated, I think, years ago because the story goes that people, sellers, fish sellers, sellers who are selling cod fish would sneak a catfish into a tank of cods to kind of keep the cods like mobile and moving around so they'd look more vigorous. That's the supposed etymology of catfishing. So
Oh,
you're thinking something and that's not really the cod.
so we know there's something fishy about this.
That's true. It's a very fishy story. And then it evolved to mean when someone pretends to be someone completely different, like assume a false identity, many times in the um, arena of dating, right? So someone acts like someone online. It's easier to do it online, and you think it's someone else, and then you get involved with the person, and it actually turns out someone completely different. Um, Now you may think, does that sound like LARPing? Uh,
Yeah.
Different, different. It's different, but maybe it's a cousin of LARPing. But with catfishing, like you think that you're communicating with, I don't know, someone who is, uh, I don't know, 30-year-old something or other, and then you realize it's someone completely different, and maybe even a different gender. That's like catfishing. So
Okay.
people will do it sometimes to either like lure people in, uh, either romantically or there might be like a financial scam behind it, or just for a variety of reasons. So that's catfishing.
Okay.
So you watch the NTV episodes, they usually focus on the person who's being catfished. And then these two hosts try to help the person that's being catfished figure out what's really going on. That's what that show is based on.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that's catfishing.
So it,
Kitten,
it sounds though like catfishing would be hard to figure out if somebody's, especially in this digital age. It's not like somebody's
yeah,
knocking on your door and they're, posing as something else. This is usually online. Am I right?
yeah. Usually it's online. So, and this might be a good time to talk about um, some of the signs that you may be catfished.
Uh-huh.
So, like, if you've been talking to someone and communicating with that person, and even if you're like, oh, we're so close, etc., but you've never actually seen the person. So,
Mm-hmm.
there's situations where people will continue conversations, but you never actually, they don't even see the person on camera. They might get
Oh,
pictures, but there's no guarantee. They could be sending a picture of Taylor Swift or someone else,
yeah.
someone like that, but they get hooked in by the person, so they believed that the person wouldn't lie about his or her identity. But then whenever you want to really get to know the other person visually, there's always an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's a blackout. Oh, my camera's not working, or I'm in the middle of work, I can't, blah blah blah, etc. So that's usually many times that's what happens. So if you find yourself getting close to someone, you would think if that other person feels the same way, that person would want to also see you, right?
Yeah.
Get to
Yeah.
know you, etc. So that's one big red flag. If Why is this person not wanting to reveal himself or herself at the very least on video? Nowadays, there's really no place in the world, maybe there are a few places in the world, but most places in the world, you can access video and you can see each other and
Yeah.
see each other interact and things like that. And also, when you are, if you're getting involved with someone in some ways, at some point, you probably want to meet up, and it would you would think that the other person would be enthusiastic about it. So red flags, you never actually see the person, and then another red flag if the other person is reluctant to meet up, reluctant to connect, because at some point you would think there would be equal interest in saying, "Hey, let's actually find some way of connecting." Um,
Yeah.
of course, another red flag is if things don't match up. If someone says, that person says, "Oh, I'm a professional basketball player," and says things like, "Yeah, the other day I scored a home run in the basketball game."
Yeah, that would be a red flag.
You think, okay, maybe some things aren't quite matching up. So inconsistencies is another red flag. So those are things that come up, and also these days you expect at some point sharing of things that are verifiable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if someone's saying all this stuff about his or her background, but that person is not sharing verifiable evidence of it,
Yeah.
then you wonder. So those are red flags when it comes to the potential of being catfished.
Yeah. And you can be catfished at any age, I'm assuming. So
Yeah,
tell me now about kitten fishing. So this is the child of the catfishing.
it's the baby version of catfishing. So it's called kitten fishing because catfishing is someone's completely playing a completely different role, like a completely has assumed a different identity.
Mhm.
Like, the person is not even the same, may not even be the same at all.
Yeah.
Kitten fishing is more subtle. So the person's not playing a completely new identity or different identity, but the person is uh, deceiving you in terms of some characteristics or
Okay.
and it could range from very relatively minor things like saying that that person, oh, has these types of interests and pretending to like these interests, but really has no interest in that kind of stuff, to things that are more elaborate. And so you may ask, you say, okay, well, but isn't that rampant in dating, right? So people talk about like dating profiles and
Yeah.
the number of times people like exaggerate or lie. Like people might say, they're a certain height, but they aren't.
Yeah.
The things. So they're all examples of kitten fishing. And it's just how big is the kitten?
So
So,
really, catfishing is it would be as though I came in here with a mask on and I'm somebody else. That's catfishing. Kitten fishing would be if I were to say to you, "Hey, Bruce, I just got done playing a professional sport and I have this kind of job and some kind of fancy job and I do all kinds of things that I really don't do." That would be kitten fishing. You see me, I'm presenting as myself, except
yeah,
that I'm
yeah.
making
Cat,
up story.
catfishing would be like if you were to say you're Mick Jagger, and so to be like, okay, whatever,
And then kitten fishing is I can dance like Mick Jagger.
or something like that. Yeah, well, I can sing as good as Mick Jagger,
Yeah,
or I can
and
dance.
I've got
Uh,
yeah,
so yeah, you got moves like Jagger,
yeah,
uh, which incidentally is not a Rolling Stones song, but yeah. So it's kitten fishing is you're embellishing about certain things, but you're not outright telling me that you're someone that you're not,
right,
right?
right.
So you're willing to jump on camera or you're willing to like meet up and those things like that, but you are telling me white lies or embellishments or something that's not correct about you. And then, it can get very elaborate. So, yeah.
Isn't that hard to get away with in this day of Google and AI where you can look people up and find out information about them?
Well, in theory, but there's, it all depends. Yeah, people vary in terms of their digital presence.
Mm,
And people also will take on different characteristics online, right? So people are not many times there are many situations where people are not who they really are online. They'll portray a certain image
yeah,
of them, whether it's on Instagram
true.
or TikTok. You see it all. So this term sort of emerged largely kind of in the romantic dating arena, but it can extend to all kinds of different arenas. People will pretend they have certain expertise in their career.
Ugh,
Uh,
I'm seeing
um,
that.
and they'll act like, "Oh, I know all this stuff. I'm a deep expert in something." And then you're like, "Okay, where is it?"
Yeah,
And so that's an example of kitten fishing. There's a lot of people self-marketing pretty heavily. So people can be very fastidious about curating a certain image
yeah,
online. So even if you do say, "Okay, it looks this way," you have to wonder, okay, is that actual factual? Or, you know,
right.
yeah, do they truly like hot dogs? Or are they kitten fishing their interest in hot dogs? Phrase.
Yeah, so I think that this could be not just for dating, but this could be, in other areas too, in terms of you're at a conference and you're meeting people and they're embellishers, and really kitten fishing because you might be able to get a job that way or maybe make new connections or collaborate with people in different ways. So I could see it being something a little bit more widespread than just in the dating world.
Oh, yeah, we see there's examples nowadays, with kind of well-known figures portraying themselves as certain
Yeah,
ways. It's a common political move where people pretend to pretend to be who they aren't, and all those things like that. You see that in the business world many times,
yeah,
where people are presenting themselves a certain way, or they're doing kind of business scams. And then many times there are celebrities who do that, and they present an image of themselves, and they're like absolutely nothing like that in real life.
mhm.
So it's actually quite common. I wouldn't say like, common in terms of everyone does it, but it's common enough that you're gonna actually see it a
Yeah.
fair amount of times. So
It's interesting. I was approached by somebody a while back, and this person said, "Oh, I want to present myself as an expert in a certain area of psychology."
mhm,
And I said, "Oh, okay. So tell me a little bit more about yourself." And it turns out that she was not an expert, but she
mhm.
wanted to be able she said, "I really need to tell people that I'm an expert so I can get more clients in this area." And I said, "No, no, no. You have to actually be the expert first." But it was interesting to me that there's this pressure to be able to say that you're an expert in something. And so that can lead to the need for people to feel like they have to do this kitten fishing in order to, say, land a job or get something that they're really looking for because they feel like they're completely locked out of opportunities if they don't.
Well, it's the whole, I mean, you heard what, the "fake it till you make it."
Yeah. Dress for
That
the job you want, not the one you have. Yeah.
Yeah, all those things. I think a lot of those sayings, have done a lot of people disservices,
Yeah. I agree
uh,
with you.
because, what you actually really should do is you should be genuine and be yourself and be authentic and say, "Okay, what do you really," everyone has their experiences and their gifts and those things like that, and whereas, like, pretending to be something that you're not, you're fooling other folks, and the whatever services you're providing may not be correct or
Yeah.
authentic.
Yeah.
And then you sort of get locked into this thing, and then you like, and this happens to um, kitten fishers. You do it, so like it's a slippery slope. You say,
Yeah.
"Hey, this one little thing I'm going to say." just to get the thing. Like, so you hear this many times, and we can look at this both in the romantic as well as sort of career or whatever role. So, like in the romantic side of things, you hear people saying, "Okay, I just have to get that person interested in me, and then I'm
Yeah,
gonna blah blah blah." Just do the hook, right? Blah blah blah. But then what they don't realize, it's just like, well, then I have to do more and then more and then more, and then suddenly, like, it's a slippery slope, and they're
yeah,
not real, like, they're less and less the real person. And I've also seen this in career situations where they'll say, "Well, okay, I just need to get that first job. I just need to get that first
yeah,
client," and they'll do it. But then, like, they'll load more stuff because they're like, "Oh, it worked, so why not
yeah,
just do a little more and do a little more and do a little more and do a
yeah.
little more?" And then suddenly the kitten gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's just a gigantic kitten. So yeah, so that's the thing.
Or, you crash and burn right away.
Yeah.
So, there was this friend I had a while back, it was way before kitten fishing became a term, but she was in the dating market, and she was putting down, she saw somebody on the dating apps, and the person loved hiking, no, it was biking, loved
Mm,
biking.
yeah.
And so she was like, "I I'm putting down that I love biking." And I was like, "Ooh, that doesn't sound like a good idea." But she was like, "No, no, this guy's great. I'm gonna put that down." So they meet up and they're gonna go on a biking date.
Mhm.
And she gets there and she's like, "No, no, no, listen, I don't wanna get helmet hair. I don't wanna put the helmet on because of, it'll ruin my hair." It ended up that he found out she doesn't like biking. She actually was barely able to bike,
Mhm.
and that was their last date.
Mhm.
So, it wasn't like it's people think you're gonna get there and then win somebody over, but
Yeah.
it's a very hard hill to climb if you started it with a lie.
Yeah.
So that's a hard thing to get over.
Yeah, I've seen this a number of times with people where they do it and they get the person, or in a range. So, like, they may crash and burn the first day or the second day when people, but even if, like, they continue to maintain this and then they establish the relationship, I've seen it most of the time, it doesn't end well, right?
Yeah,
Because at some well, there's several things that can go wrong. One is at some point, you know, you can't say, "For the next 5 years, I'm gonna pretend that I really like biking,"
yeah,
and something always comes up, like, at some point, it's gonna come out. But also, you are, potentially attracting the wrong fit, right?
yeah,
So, if you feel like you have to pose a certain way to attract someone, well, then you're attracting someone that is not really a good fit with you. So in the long run, that's a bad idea. I've seen that in her side too, where people, like, they pose themselves an expert. This actually happening frequently these days now with AI, where people pretend I'm an AI expert,
yeah, yeah,
and I've seen these situations where they pretend, but then at some point, like, they're getting so deep that they have to make decisions or demonstrate their expertise, and it
mhm,
just goes all wrong. It's
yep.
just yeah. I think there were some sitcoms that were completely based on that, where, like, people pretended to be something and then
Oh,
they
yeah,
were
I
not.
Love Lucy was known for that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, not a good idea. It may be it may seem attractive in the short term.
Yeah,
In the long term, it's not a great idea. Plus, also, I would think that it would give you a very uneasy feeling, right? Because you're always, like, wondering, okay, will I be found out? Will people figure me out or something?
yeah. But also, you don't wanna have to feel just emotionally, you never wanna get into a relationship that is built off of, like, a very weak foundation where you have to feel like you have to be somebody else or more than what you are in your mind to someone else. You want them you want them to accept you for however you are and for whatever you are. So if you already start with something that's false, it's really going to be a difficult, like I said before, it's a difficult hill to climb, but emotionally, you'll never feel adequate.
Yep. Yep. It's pretty much like, for instance, if you were to meet someone and you were wearing some kind of Halloween costume and that person was very interested in you in the Halloween costume, you're like, oh darn, I have to wear the Halloween costume all the time. That would not be comfortable, especially if it were a Halloween costume of, I don't know, uh, a big castle or something. I don't know, something like that.
Mhm.
Uh, but that's a type of discomfort that you will constantly feel, that I have to
Yeah.
keep wearing this, and so yeah, not a great situation. It's not a great situation for the kitten fisher himself or herself. Yeah,
No, for it's not good for either. So
no,
and the same with work. If you go in every day then feeling like, "Oh my gosh, my job is on the line," because I don't know what I'm doing. There's only so much that you can handle in terms of feeling like you can wing it.
yeah,
You can't wing high level expertise.
yeah.
So it's just tricky. It's emotionally a very difficult thing to carry. It sounds sweet and cute, but kitten fishing is really like a big tiger out there in terms of your emotions.
Oh yeah, I know. I mean, I know someone who was pretending, spent a lot of time pretending, and eventually had a nervous breakdown
Yeah, I could see
because that
that.
person could not actually do the work that he was pretending that he could do, or pretending he had done. One of the things that he had done was, and I remember, uh, I used to always like he used to always say I when even though he was working in a team, he
Mhm.
used I did this, I did that, etc. When it should have been we. He was only
Yeah,
part of the team. He only did some aspects of the work, but he kept saying I. That
yeah.
was hidden fishing essentially, because he was make it seem like he was doing more than he really was.
Mhm.
Okay, finally came to the time when he actually had the responsibility for stuff. He had a nervous breakdown because you didn't do this stuff.
Right.
You were part of the team, but yet you didn't want to give credit to the team. So then, like, that allowed him to sort of rise up in position, and then he suddenly realized, wait, hold on a second, I have more. I actually have responsibility. Like, he didn't realize that,
Yeah,
with I don't know, titles or reputation come responsibility, and it's not like it's necessarily easy. So it's actually harder. It's harder when you actually have
yeah.
the responsibility. So yeah, he had a nervous breakdown, and it was just ugly. So folks had to go in and basically just rescue him. Um, so
You know, we see so much online, and like you mentioned, sitcoms, they make kitten fishing seem really fun and
yeah,
harmless to
yeah.
both, because there's usually a happy ending at the end, or it gets resolved in some kind of a way, and that's not how it works in real life. So, in terms of the emotional component
Wait,
of it.
hold on a second. You said sitcoms are not like real life. Shocked.
I know.
I am stunned. Okay. I have
Yeah,
to recalibrate my entire life, because I always look at sitcoms and I said, "That must be real life. Everything's realistic." Those and Marvel movies,
mhm,
okay. Anyway, I'll let you continue, but I'm stunned.
and TikTok and Instagram. I'll just
Oh,
add those
well,
to the
uh,
list.
don't add that, and then, and most songs are realistic too.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a glorified kind of a way of showing kitten fishing in a way that makes it seem cute, exciting, fun. It'll get resolved. It's not a big deal.
Mhm.
But what you can't show in those shows is the emotional side effects that it has that can be lingering or that go move on. Like you said, someone, had a nervous breakdown. It doesn't even need to be a nervous breakdown. The angst that a person might be feeling every day that gets portrayed as comedy in a show is really much different in how we feel it in real life.
Mhm. Yeah. And I remember, someone was mixing this up with, like, imposter syndrome. Like, imposter syndrome is where, when many times people, when they talk about that, is they're like, well, people don't feel like they are actually
Yeah.
capable, or they're but what they actually are. This is the reverse. This
Yes,
is a
exactly.
situation where you really actually are not capable of doing something. You are actually serving as an imposter.
Yeah.
So don't get confused with imposter syndrome with, like, actually being an imposter. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean you be an imposter. Yeah.
We'll have to next time talk about imposter syndrome because that's another thing that plagues people. But you're right, kitten fishing can harm others.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome harms yourself.
Yeah.
So, we'll have to talk about that one next time. But,
Yeah.
you know, um, I think that a lot of these trends nowadays, they sound so sweet and cute, but, they have claws. They really can dig in.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's actually, I don't know. I think the origin of kitten fishing came from catfishing,
Mhm.
because of kittens and cats, etc. But there is some aspect of it where like it looks innocent
Yeah.
from the surface. Say, oh, why not do that? Oh, just do that. Just do this little thing. Do this little thing, and then you think it's not going to harm anyone, not going to hurt anyone, etc. But you're not seeing the consequences of it.
Yeah.
That's
It's
the
true.
problem. So I think you can quickly find yourself going down this slippery slope, and I have seen this happen where people. It's not as if um, you know people say, "Oh, I am going to deceive." They don't necessarily always say, "Oh, I'm going to massively deceive someone or massively lie, etc." But what happens is it's the little thing, little like one little step, a little more,
Yep.
a little more, a little more, a little more, and then suddenly, like they find themselves in an unrecognizable place, or they find themselves unrecognizable, and they can't get back.
Yeah.
So, so the best thing is to not just not start in the
Yeah.
first place. So, yeah,
And if you find yourself where you have done a tiny little thing, fess up. Accountability is part of being authentic. And
yes,
so you can get yourself right back on track. So most people will be pretty forgiving of something tiny, but they're not if it's something big or if
yeah,
you've done it over and over again. So,
yes, exactly, yes,
um,
absolutely, yeah.
So this has been a lot of fun talking about kitten fishing tonight, and I just want to say that there are more ways that you can find all the writing and all the work that you've been doing lately on television and in all of the other areas that you're in media. So you can find us on We Do Mind. You can find both of us on Substack, and you can find Bruce's writing on Forbes and Psychology Today, and you can find mine on Psychology Today as well. So if you're looking for more information on topics that affect all of us, check us out in our writing and do subscribe.
We do mind.
We do mind.
We do mind.
We do mind.
Yes.
So that's it for today. Take care.
Bye, everyone.